Welcome to the Putback on SNY.TV. I'm Ian Begley with Chris Williamson, and we have the great Kenny Smith with us this week. Two-time NBA champion, analyst on Inside the NBA. Kenny, let's get right into it. What did you think of the Knicks' moves this offseason?
Well, a lot of movement. Obviously, new coach. Year before. Really, I still count the with the management move. I count that as this year as well because this is their first opportunity. They didn't get to participate in the bubble last year, so this is their first draft pick. So you got a lot of newness. We've seen some great things come to New York before. We've seen, even far back as Stephon Marbury, Carmelo, Phil Jackson walks in the building and things never turn around. So as a New Yorker, I'm optimistic, hoping and praying that it works. As a New Yorker, please. But, it's difficult to say because championships and playoff mentality is not a skill set. It's a mindset.
Well, one thing that kind of struck me was, from all these regime changes with the Knicks, there's been so many of them over the years. Everybody comes in day one talking about patience and wanting to build it the right way. They could have signed Gordon Hayward or Malik Beasley. They didn't commit any long-term money. They did short deals. They didn't make a big swing. They kept everything fluid from a cap space situation moving forward. Now, at some point, you have to turn that cap space into winning players. But I thought Leon Rose came in talking about being prudent, and he showed that in this offseason. So we'll see where they go.
Yeah, I think, it's all about the actual production. There are certain teams that are young, and you go, well, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. The Knicks were young last year, and you didn't see the light. You're like, well, I'm not sure. You look at how Denver had done it when they were younger, 2-3 years ago. You go, they're going to be good though. That's the right formula that they're putting together. So we'll see if they're able to kind of put together the right formula. Somebody
that people are really hoping has a big year is RJ Barrett. What do you think his ceiling is for this season as we look to see if he's going to be, a core piece of this team?
And where are we going to play him? Like what position? He's a guy who can play in multiple positions. He can play the point, the 2, and the 3 at times. But where are we going to play him at a consistent basis? I don't think he found his home at any position last year because he was moved around so much. So where is Thibodeau going to settle in him at? James Harden was a great player in Oklahoma City. But when he went to Houston, he became a superstar because they said, no, we're going to put the ball in your hand. You're going to be the guy who makes every decision on every pick and roll. I don't know if he's good enough to do that, obviously, because I don't know if he doesn't shoot that well as James does. But where are you going to play this guy? And that, to me, will dictate how good a season he has.
Jet Academy, let's get into it. You started it during this, quarantine period, pandemic period over the summer. It's continuing now. What's your goal here with Academy over the winter?
Well, it's holiday season. So, we signed a new lineup of players headed by Draymond Green, CJ McCollum, Kendrick Nunn, Nasir Little, Cole Anthony, about 8 new players. And what it is, for those who don't know, you work side by side with your favorite player, including myself, and we instruct you for an hour a day on the weekends. And what we're able to do is answer questions live. You're able to upload your video. We critique them in 48 hours. A lot of kids are always like, is that you really? I'm like, yeah, that's me telling you to keep your elbows straight. That's me on there. Like, you need to do it. So all you have to do is show up and get ready to play. And so Ian and Chris, all of you guys, just come on in, man. We'll get your game right too. It don't matter the age, man. Draymond says there's a champion within all of us, he says.
What you're saying, Kenny, is I'll be able to shoot like you when it's all said and done, right?
Well, you hopefully better. Don't you want to shoot like 50-year-old Kenny? You want to shoot like 25-year-old Kenny?
Kenny, one player that's a part of your group this time, Immanuel Quickley, drafted by the Knicks, and New Yorkers are very excited about him, and we're excited to hear your thoughts on him. What do you think about Immanuel and his fit in New York and just what you saw from him at Kentucky?
Well, I just say he's a smart kid joining the Jet Academy, but I think overall, how fast does he get an opportunity to play depends on who else they bring in and where they are as well. But I think his upside in terms of what he did at Kentucky in the shortened season, was pretty impressive. And have a lot of skill sets. And this is a league where if you can play multiple positions, which he can, you're going to be able to play for a long time. You're going to have a long career. So I expect a lot of great things out of Immanuel.
And Obi Toppin seems to think that he likes the style that Tom Thibodeau is going to implement. What are your thoughts about how he'll fit?
I think he's a great athlete, great basketball player. He has a unique skill set. He reminds me of Kenyon Martin. That's like if he really got to be a great player, he could be Kenyon Martin, I think. Perennial all-star in the NBA, guy who could help his teams get to the finals. That's what Kenyon Martin was. He's got a lot of work to do because Kenyon Martin, I think, came in a little bit more seasoned because he had been in college a little longer. But, he reminds me of him.
Welcome to this week's College Hoop Scoop. I'm SNY college basketball contributor Phyllis Kelly, bringing you all the stars Knicks fans should keep their eyes on. This week we head to Kentucky, where the Wildcats are off to their first 1-3 start since 2000, which for reference was when Lucius Harris was still pulling in 50 starts for the Nets. After losses to ranked Kansas and unranked Richmond, the Wildcats fell to winless Georgia Tech in the Pit Boss Grill's Holiday Hoops Giving. Who comes up with this? A bright spot was McDonald's All-American Terrence Clark, who put up 22 points. He wasn't even alive last time Kentucky went 1-3. I wonder if Y2K hurt Kentucky's offseason. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on College Hoop Scoop.
And what?
Chris, one thing on Buddy Hield in Sacramento, I had heard that in some of Sacramento's conversations with teams about potential Hield deals, they were looking for draft compensation in a Hield trade. Now, I don't know if the Knicks in Sacramento talked. I don't know if the Knicks would have interest in Buddy Hield, but it's interesting because the Knicks would have that draft compensation to offer up if they wanted to. Remember, they have all those picks coming up in the coming drafts here. And then if you look at their roster, a Julius Randle for Hield deal makes sense under the trade rules. So it's just something to keep an eye on there with Sacramento and Hield, because it doesn't seem like that's the most comfortable situation out there between that young shooting guard and the organization.
Now, when we look at the rest of training camp, what were some of the interesting things that you've learned so far?
Chris, one thing that stuck out to me was Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel. Tom Thibodeau was asked about Mitchell early on in camp, and he said he likes Mitchell a lot. He likes what he's seen from him so far, but Mitchell has a lot of room to grow, a lot of work to do, and he mentioned kind of daily habits, how he approaches the games and practices. And he also complimented Nerlens Noel. So that leads me to believe that at the very least, we're going to have an open competition here for the starting center spot with the Knicks in training camp.
Last time, Kenny, you were on the show, that was the day that you walked off the set of Inside the NBA. When you look back at that moment, what are you most proud of what you did there?
The reaction I had in my home. My 12-year-old son, I didn't know if he got to see it. And when I called him, the first thing he did, he started doing this on FaceTime. So at 12 years old, he understood what I was doing and why I was doing it. And he said, man, me and my friend Ian, man, he called me, we were together, Zoom calling, and we watching the game as you did that. And he goes, man, your dad he gets it. Your dad understands the culture. Now, what makes that even more interesting, Ian is 11-year-old white kid. Mm-hmm. So both of them understood why I was doing it and what I was doing. I think that the players did a great job. I wanted to support that. I wanted to support the movement. I didn't want to be a talking head that night. I wanted to join the march. Charles Barkley, he said, hey, he was a little pissed off because I didn't inform him about walking off. And I always feel this, it's not my job to, inform Charles. Charles is not my, he works with me. He's my brother. I love him, but that's not social injustice and social justice, or try to attain social justice. It's supposed to be disruptive. It's not supposed to be comfortable all the time. So it's not for me to be comfortable to, tell a guy to my right or tell a guy to my left what I'm thinking about doing. I'm trying to be disruptive. I'm trying to make change. I'm trying to alert people that something is unusual about today. that shouldn't be there. So, that's why I don't feel a way about it. I don't feel upset that he said that. Maybe he wanted to walk off with me, so that's all I'm hoping. So I'll leave it as that.
And in terms of the players, putting the pressure, keep applying the pressure to the owners who have that influence, who have the wealth to be able to make changes systematically. What do you suggest they do?
Well, I think the players have more pull than the owners, honestly, and collectively and as a unit. You think about this, Chris. If you put the wealth of every African American in basketball together, there's nothing that equals that anywhere else. There's nothing that equals that. So I think that, they have the wealth, they have the name and notoriety. They just have to find the cause. I think a lot of times players think that they have to create the cause. They don't have to create it. They can find it, and support it by being there or financially. But we're in 2020. If you don't find it, then shame on you.
Kenny, thanks so much for joining us. For Chris, I'm Ian. We'll see you next week on the Putback.